Alright, this is like take 4. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of these little guys, little slender guy. He's going to look slightly different. He's only going to have 2 red beads, but I ran out of beads except for the ones I have here, so I couldn't show you one of the modified ones. But anyway, for this you are going to need your beads, and I have counted out 40 each of white and black, but you don't need that many. You only need about 30 white beads, but I figured, you know, better safe than sorry. I'm just going to have way more than I need. And you also need 2 red beads. And in addition to that, you need your string. Now I'm just using some beading cord, but I actually recommend you use fishing line just because it's easier to work with. Anyway, let's get started because this is going to take a while. We're only going to do the head right now, and for that you need to put 2 black beads on your string. Pull it all the way down to the middle, like that. Then you need to put your strings together and put a white bead on. Like that. Pull it all the way down. Then you take your strings apart and you put a white bead on each string, or on each side. And put your strings together and put another white bead on both of them. Pull that down to the middle. So now we've got 4 rows. We're going to make 9 rows. And that involves pulling the strings apart again, putting a white bead on each string, then putting them together, and putting a white bead on both. Nice and simple. I mean, this is a little complicated if you don't know how to do this already. Oh no. Let's see. There we go. But once you get the hang of it, it is super simple. So now we have 6 rows. Pull our strings apart. Put a bead on each string. Then put our strings together and put a bead on there. So that is 8 rows. So for our final row, we take our strings apart and we put a black bead on each side. And we pull those to the middle, pull it nice and tight, and then we tie it off. Just with a couple knots, you don't have to do anything fancy. We just want it to, you know, stay in place while we do the rest of this. Okay, so now you've got this row right here. See? After that, you take one side, it doesn't matter which one. You take your string and you put it through this black bead. Don't put any beads on it right now. Just put it through. Then you do 1 black bead. And you put that on your string, and then you put your string through this white bead here. Pull it tight. Then you do a white bead. Put it on your string and put it through the next white bead. Oops. As you can see, my string is starting to fray already. That's why I recommend you use fishing line, because it's easier to work with. Put another white bead on, string it through that next white bead, like that. And then for your last bead, you want to put on a black bead and go through like this. Okay? So now you've got this row. And as you can see, we're going to finish off the top of the head with just black beads. So what you do is you just take the same string you've been using and you go up through the last bead you just put on, like that. See? Then you put a black bead on. Like that. And you put another black bead on. Go through that next white bead. It's sticking up there. Like that. And then you put one more on. Like that. And then, to finish it off, you take the same string you've been using, you go back through the bead that you just put on, and you put on one black bead, go through the next bead that's sticking up, and two black beads. And then we can just leave that for now, because what we're doing now is we're going to make the rest of the head. So that means you take the string you haven't been using, see, and you put it through the other bead on that side so that it comes out the bottom like this, and you put a white bead on. And another white bead. Now mine's going to come out looking a little bit shorter than it should, another white bead, because my beads, like the length of them is a little bit shorter than the beads you get at Walmart. So it will come out looking, you know, a little bit squat like this guy. If you make one and you get your beads from Walmart, yours will probably turn out a tiny bit taller. That is okay. And anyway, you are done with this row, and now we've got that much of the head done. So that's cool. You want to take the same string you've been using, add a black bead, because we're doing an outside bead, and go through this white bead, see, that we just put on. So nice and tight, and then we put a white bead on. Ugh, my string is fraying, I might have to cut it a little bit, but nice and tight. Oops. Another white bead. I mean, I think you can kind of predict when we're going to use white beads and when we're going to use black beads for the middle part of this head. But anyway, once we get this white bead on, we run into a problem. And that is namely that we don't have a way to string on our black bead. So what we do to remedy that is, see this string back here? Oops, we take that and we thread it, well, we just thread it through so that it's, basically you just thread it through beads until you get to this bead right here. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to go through the white bead that's directly below my black bead. Ugh, here, I'm going to cut the string a little bit. It's not cooperating. Okay. I'm going to go through the white bead that's directly below where my string comes out. And I'm going to pull that tight. And then I'm going to go down one bead, and yeah, this string is very annoying to use, so I really do suggest fishing line. Or a needle. If you have a needle, that's awesome. I'm gonna cut this out, I think, if I can. I'm still not really sure how to edit video. But if I can figure it out, I am editing out this part. There we go. So I've gotten through that bead, and then I'm going to go down one more bead. Like that. Aha. And then go up a bead as I go over. Cut the string again. Well, that didn't help any. Oh. So you just go across like you do, because what we need to do is we need to have this string come out that bottom black bead. And just go across however you would like until you get to this bead. Cut my string again. For the body, I'm going to have a needle, I think. Anyway, so now you've got your one string coming out of here, and your other string coming out of that last bead there. And what you do is you take your black bead, okay, you put it on one string, like that, then you take this string and you put it through the other way, so that it looks like this, that it's a little X, and you just pull that tight, and your bead will stay. Then you take this string that's, you know, facing the white beads, and you go across, and you put on your white beads. Like that. Now, I learned how to do this from a tutorial. It was like the only one on YouTube, but it was a little complicated, so I decided to make this one to make it a little simpler. Okay, once you're done with that row, you take that same string you've been using and put on a black bead, because this is our outside. See? We're doing this bead now. And you put it back through that white bead that you just put on, so that it goes like that. Then you add your white beads. And yeah, so I wanted to make a tutorial that was a little simpler. I loved that tutorial, but I got a little bit confused partway through, so I'm going to try to make it so that other people won't get confused by it. Alright, so here we are at the end, and again, what we're going to do is we're going to take one string, put our black bead on, oops, and we're back. I had a catastrophic failure of my rig, but anyway, we're going to keep going. So what you do is you take your black bead, you put it on one string, and then you take your other string, like we did that last time, put it on the other way, so that when you tighten it, it is like that. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to put on a black bead. I'm trying to go fast so my rig doesn't catastrophically fail again. Going to put on that black bead, like that, going through that next white bead. And then we're going to put on 2 white beads. And a black bead. See? Like this. Then we're going to go back through that bead that we just put on. Don't put any beads on right now. Just go back through, put on a black bead, go through that next bead that's sticking up. Oops, let me cut my string a little. Through that next bead that's sticking up. And go through the next bead with a black bead. And another black bead. And to finish off the head, we are going to take that same string, go through the bead that we just put on without putting on any other beads, and then we put on a black bead, and a black bead. Alright, so now we have our little slender head. To tie it off, you just want to go back through, these beads, so that you can get over to where you have that other string. And, oops, let me cut my string again. See, this is the problem with not using fishing line with this. You have to use a needle, or you have to keep cutting the ends of your thread. Just go through your beads, whichever beads you want to get from where you were over to where you need to be. I just like to follow the black beads, but you don't have to. One more, and of course it's giving me trouble. And when you are over by your other string, you just tie it off with as many knots as you feel are necessary to keep it from falling apart. I usually do with this stuff about 3. You can do more or less, it doesn't matter. And you've got your little slender head. Now next I'm going to show you how to make the body. See how we have so many extra white beads, but that's okay. I will show you how to make the body of your slender thing in the next video. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Happy beading. See you next time.